What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with our waiver wire edition, week 9, talking the top ads to help you win that fantasy football title, maybe help you win this week, whatever your situation is. Hit that subscribe button if you want to win more games of fantasy football, if you want to bring that fantasy football championship home this year. Beat your friends and family. Let them know that you're better at fantasy football than they are. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section down below. It really helps out the algorithm, so I do appreciate it. All right, let's hop in. Quarterback should be real simple. Sam Howell, I do think, is worth an ad. He plays New England this week. It's not a great matchup, but if you're looking for a streamer, there's not a ton of great ones. Derek Carr is also out there as well. He's a name I would take a look at. Howell this last week at 397 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. His ceiling is very high. So, yeah, certainly some value there for him. As far as the running back position goes, if Zach Charbonnet is out there in any of your leagues, he'd be my top ad, I think. He's becoming more and more involved as the weeks go on. He's looked good. He's a talented running back. We knew that from draft season. 2 receptions, 11 yards, 5 carries for 53. Ken Walker is a little bit banged up. I think he is a good ad, and they don't have any bye weeks left. DeMarco, if he's out there in your leagues, obviously add him. Tajay Spears, if he's out in your leagues, add him. I think Royce Freeman's worth an ad as well. Just some names. I know running backs get desperate in the league, so I want to try to give some people some names if they're in some deep leagues. Some guys they can add, they can rely on. My top ad at the wide receiver position would probably be Rashid Shaheed. Demario Douglas, though, is certainly a name to monitor and to add. This last week, 7 targets, 6 the week before. We saw Kendrick Bourne tear his ACL, so he's out for the rest of the season. Let least targets open. I think he'll be involved in this in these coming weeks and be a pretty solid fantasy asset and nice wide receiver 3 flex play. Honestly, it's not a super big week for waivers. If you are a team that you use waiver wire priority system or something like that, I might even just hang on to some of these guys or just wait to put a claim in. Stay at the top of the priority. Wait for one of those weeks when one of those guys goes down. If you're the 12th team, though, obviously, then you should make some moves. All right, let's talk some tight ends. I just added this guy before kickoff. Honestly, I would have added him. I used a waiver wire ad last week if you were in a league when Zach Ertz went down, but had an absolute phenomenal week this last week. 14 targets for Trey McBride, 10 for 95 and a touchdown. Kyler should be on the way back, not this next week, but sometime soon, which bodes well for his fantasy upside rest of season. Honestly, the best position for waivers this week was probably tight end. I think there's several names on this list that I would want. Taysom Hill has been dominant for fantasy recently. Had a 54% route rate this last week, which you like to see, even though the targets weren't there. That's a really impressive number, especially with Jawan Johnson back, so his usage has stayed. It's a little bit different. This week it was 9 carries, only 1 target, but the route percentage is what I like to see. I still think he'll get, somewhere between 2 or 3 targets a game at least, somewhere around there. Not at least every game, but averages out to 2 or 3 targets a game. Probably 4 runs and maybe a half a pass, something like that. But that's a guy you can play in your tight end position, especially in the goal line back. You see 3 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. I think you can do a lot worse at the tight end position than Taysom Hill moving forward rest of season. I currently have leagues where I have him rostered as my second tight end and things like that. Another name to throw out there, this guy should be rostered at the tight end position, Logan Thomas. He's really performed pretty well this year. 8 targets, 6 targets, 1, 11, 3. There have been those games between you're not happy with, but there's a lot of times you aren't happy with if you're not getting 6 or 8 targets in their good games. So I think he's another guy. A lot of people are hurting in that tight end position. A lot of guys have people who aren't, putting anything up. I think Logan Thomas is a guy who can score points for you at that tight end position. Now let's go take a look at the top defensive plays for the week, and then we will move on. Okay, so I do think the Falcons are a good play against Minnesota with their quarterback situation for sure. Raiders are a good matchup against the Giants. Daniel Jones coming back. I do really like the Chargers against the Jets. They did not look great last week. And then, the Chargers defense is widely available. You could obviously play the Patriots against Washington as well, but I think I would play those other 3 ahead of those ones. But yeah, those are some good defensive matchups you can play this week. Hopefully you guys have been winning. Like I said, one of the biggest things strategy-wise that I would keep thinking about is use your record as leverage. You want to be selling storylines to other teams. If teams are struggling right now, they need to be winning. You can sell them guys at 80 cents on the dollar and pick up some studs or pick up better players, upgrade because they need to win and you don't. Pick up on things like bye weeks if you stack some wins and have a really good chance at the playoffs. But be aggressive, make moves like that. Don't sit in your laurels. But yeah, it's just 2 words of advice from Fantasy Joe over here. Alrighty, if you guys have made it to this point in the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always. This has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys for watching.